Welcome to Winning the Game of Life. Known as Jungleman at the poker table, Dan Cates has gone from being the bag boy at McDonald's with no friends and a dead-end future to winning over $11 million in online poker, over $7 million in live tournaments, and is a World Series of Poker champion. He has found fame, fortune, been to incredible places all over the globe, and connected with some amazing people. It looks like Dan has won the game of life, but that is not the way he sees it. Dan sees winning as doing his part to help everyone in the world win. He knows he can't do it alone, though. He knows it's going to take a collective effort with anyone that wants to see the same thing. Join us each week as Dan starts the conversation to do just that. On the show, Dan will interview incredible individuals that have made the impossible possible. Those that have won the game of life, and those that want to help others win as well. Hit subscribe and follow Dan's journey on Instagram at @TheDanCates. Let's explore anyone and anything that can help make this world a better place, increasing the odds of us all winning the game of life. And now, here's your host, Dan Cates.
What's up, guys? It's Jungleman, and I'm here with the one and only Falcons, Mr. Falcons, Phil Galfond, right in my clutches. I finally have him right where I want him, right on center stage, and I'm going to totally embarrass him. And I'm going to expose his dastardly plan, whatever it is. I don't even know the right word for it. It's so fiendish right here. Mr. Galfond, what do you have to say for yourself?
Thanks for having me on, Jungle. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Of course you are. You're sick. Of course you're happy. This is what, of course, you're never unhappy. It makes me mad. It turns out we were born very close to each other. The what's the saying? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Something like that. I think it applies here. And
I don't think it applies, but carry on.
Oh, well, whatever I am, the orange doesn't fall far from the apple tree. Something like
the orange doesn't fall far from the apple, yeah.
The orange ends up rolling to the apple tree, something like that. They end up getting in the same basket, actually. There we go. The orange and the apples end up getting in the same basket and aren't that far away. Yeah, we're gonna go with that one.
Yeah.
So tell us how you got into poker, Mr. Galfond. Or should I Falcons, I don't know. I'm getting confused. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's confusing. I mean, I gambled a lot growing up with friends. We played card games that I guess were poker, but they're not things that you see spread in casinos anywhere. So I was a gambler in my teens and only found poker through, I watched it on TV a little bit, but a friend of mine from Maryland who was in that group of friends that we gambled with was taking poker kind of seriously. He won a tournament on Party Poker for $30,000 or something. I was 19 at the time, or 18 maybe. And he actually reached out to me. He said, "Hey, Phil, I've been studying poker. I picked up a couple of books. I've, as you know, like it was the talk of our friend group that he won, $30,000. So he reached out and he was like, I think that you'd be really good at this if you tried." So I still liked to gamble, and I liked the idea of that, of winning a bunch of money and playing a game. So I picked up a couple books. I think they're pretty bad books, but started my journey there. And then actually the first kind of good book that I found was a Sklansky book. I think it's Hold'em Poker for Advanced Players. And then I found the 2+2 forums, and the rest is history.
What made him think that you would be pretty good at that?
I guess I was good at math. Like I was a good, I think he thought I would have high aptitude for the things that poker took, essentially.
Does that involve conniving plots? And
of course it involves conniving plots. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, but I see right through your plots, and that also happens to be see-through plots. Happens to be another poker skill. It's very important to poker, is seeing behind the veil.
The thing is, Jungle, most people can't see through my plots, but that's why you're one of the all-time greats.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. You're breaking down my my barriers a little bit. I have to admit, it's not easy to do. I think math is. Well, what do you think? Do you think math's really important for poker?
I think that actually physically, or I guess mentally doing math, like arithmetic, like actually doing it is not important, but I think the same kind of aptitude or, the same skill set mentally or same equipment that makes one good at math prepares one for thinking through things in poker. I think logic, which is, kind of a component of math, is one of the biggest tools that we use to logically deduce based on the actions of your opponent on flop, turn, and river, pre-flop as well, of course, and then all the history against them, how you think they think, and narrowing their range down based on that, and then figuring out, okay, well, if this is what I think they're doing, what do I need to do about that in response? I think that's all in kind of the logic genre. What do you think?
I think you've pretty much gotten close to where the target is in this case. Well, you should have some practice doing that, swooping in. It's kind of your thing.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, I guess there's some kind of ability to like look at something from like I think it's just the strategic element that it sounds like you're alluding to, which I think is a little alien to many people, that helps a lot with making people good at poker. I think, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what were your strengths, like your aptitudes in school, before you found poker?
I was very good at math, actually.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of players that were not that good at math, but I'm not 100% sure about that one.
I think there's some, but I think they're few and far between, honestly. I mean, they definitely exist, and they're great players who are not that good at it. But I think most of us are.
I was personally pretty good at most subjects and writing, actually, but I don't think writing is really. I don't know. I think there's a lot of poker players that aren't exactly stellar writers. I'm trying to think. Some are like pretty good at sports. Who would have thought?
I think a lot of well, I think yeah, I know a lot of poker players that are good at sports, and like, or at least if they're not excellent, like I'm 5'6". I'm not an excellent athlete, but I played sports my whole life. And I think a lot of poker players are competitive people, essentially, and competitive people are drawn to sports, trying very hard in sports. Competitive people are drawn to poker and succeed in poker more often because I think you need that competitive drive to you need the hunger to learn and to compete against your opponents to kind of drive your work ethic and to like pick you back up when things go poorly.
Yeah. No, that makes sense for sure. Like you definitely need that drive that you want something pretty badly, to keep like trying to get it. Like that you absolutely need in poker. I think it teaches that actually. Or at least if you have enough whatever, it eventually teaches something like that, is what I think.
Yeah. And even like poker players who don't come from sports background often come from, mind sports background of like chess or Magic the Gathering, or other strategic things that are competitive.
And what other kind of competitive things do you do? What else do you use your time for? I know that you're not just playing poker these days. I know that's not big on your agenda.
I haven't been playing that much. I mean, these days I spend a lot of time on Run It Once, on Run It Once training, where you work for me, and Run It Once poker as well. I spend a lot of my time on that, and it keeps me plenty busy. But honestly, I miss playing. I want to get back to some more playing.
And what else do you do? Do you only work on run at once?
Yeah, I feel like there's a I feel like you are think that you have a like some secret that I'm not exposing, but I don't think you do. Yeah, I work on the business.
Oh, okay. If you say so, Mr. Falcons. And what made you decide to? Well, let's get to that for a second. Let's hold that thought. Actually, I want to dig into this a little bit. You're not
Okay.
going anywhere. Let's talk a little bit more about poker. What would you say your biggest challenges were to become one of the greats of online poker? You're one of the biggest winners on the internet. You also have some tournament success, not that many, not so much, Mr. Falcons. Don't
Yeah.
know your ego is massive,
Yeah.
but yeah, why don't you talk about what your challenges were to get to the highest stakes and compete against Phil Ivey and Patrick Antonius and those sorts of
Yeah.
folks?
I think I had two major challenges. One being poor bankroll management.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking shots very often, and so like there were a lot of times where I like on more than one occasion I lost half my roll in a single day, which you're not supposed to do generally speaking.
I did that.
Yeah, and I was always fortunately able to like mentally reset and go back down and grind and build back up. But I was fortunate those opportunities were still there to grind back up and kind of all the stakes in between. So that was one. I think the other one is confidence. I think I think a lot of players are overconfident. I think I'm underconfident, or at least I was. And I mean, I still am at times. And this, I think it's generally a good thing to be somewhat underconfident when it comes to, you know, how much you're willing to lose against somebody or game selection or things like that. But and like questioning your strategy, revising your strategy, studying,
Mhm.
always questioning the plays you make. I think it's good from that perspective. But I think that to execute at the highest level, you need more confidence in yourself than I think I have. And so I think sometimes I struggle making the plays that I should make due to like a lack of confidence. So that's one of the bigger battles that I've fought.
You know what?
What?
That's why you're the perfect decoy, because you seem so unassuming. That's why no one can see through it. But that is why, because sometimes I'm even fooled. But anyway, I can see how it's both a plus and a minus. In my opinion, at least in poker, confidence should be earned, or at least I mean, to some extent, confidence should be earned. Like, I mean, I think people get the idea of confidence wrong, and that has mm, there's different kinds of confidence. There's, at least in poker, when you're playing very high stakes, a lot of your confidence should be earned. And some should be feigned to some degree, which is like kind of like inner confidence, where it has to be just
Mhm.
belief that the things will work out. It's kind of a tough thing to foster, but it seems fosterable. That's what I think. Yeah, but I'd imagine I guess you could say like a little bit of attitude does help a little bit at high stakes. I
Yeah, and I'm lacking the attitude.
If you say so. I feel like I've seen it come out. I feel like if
Have you?
you dig into you enough, it'll come out. Uh I don't think it helps that much though. At least in poker. It's
Honestly, where I think it helps the most is in like uh tournament poker, especially like softer field tournament poker, where the right play is just to just hammer some people again and again and just like always pull the trigger and always that your image is terrible, but like you seem crazy aggressive, but just keep doing it. And I think I start to question myself too often. I think I don't push those edges as far as I should. Maybe that's I don't know if it's fully lack of confidence, but I think the like that's a quality that tournament players have, I think, like universally, the top tournament players, I feel like they have a lot of confidence in themselves at the table.
Huh.
More so than cash players, I think.
I'm curious if that's true. That might be true. I don't know. I've never
There's
thought
like
of
a lot of there's a lot of chicken. Like you're playing chicken in tournaments where, you know, if somebody flinches, they lose. And I feel like that's an element there.
There's definitely, I mean, that can be true. I find it's not that true, to be honest. Like it's much easier to do something like fuck up a lot in terms of ICM with opening too much and this kind of stuff, or like have a bad strategy that can be exploited very easily in ICM later. I can see how that's true, but I mean, if you just like, I think these days people, I think in soft fields, it's absolutely what you're saying is absolutely true. But against really good players, I think that element of conscientiousness does more good than bad. Because it
I think that's very well said. I agree. And today with, you know, in the post solver era, I think you're completely right. Yeah.
It keeps you honest, you could say.
Yeah.
Like an element of conscientiousness, I think ultimately is a good thing. I mean, I like to imagine that transferring this to other areas of life, to get too aggressive with people, it ends up eventually backfiring. I think the parallel kind of works in this way. What do you think, Phil? Business, perhaps?
Yeah, you can even take the parallel further in the analogy and say, you know, some aggression and pushiness can be like effective against a lot of people, but against the people where it's that really matter, that are really important, it can be a negative.
Yeah.
Right. So people get their way. Like some people are pushy, aggressive people in general can kind of like climb up in the world in certain ways by pushing people around. But when it comes to their family and their loved ones and forming relationships, it can be damaging.
That's a good point. I never thought of that, actually. Or people that are pivotal for your success.
Yeah.
You don't want to, like, it's bad to have like too aggressive of like a social strategy is how I personally view it. It's bad to like push the boundaries too much, because then it's really hard to like get those boundaries back. And it's if you don't push them too much, it tends to be okay. I mean, you have to like find the edge. You got to be on the edge. That's how I view it anyway.
Yeah, sure.
I had a question for you. I'm thinking, what was that question? Oh yeah. So I'm curious. You said you don't have a lot of confidence, but you still had a lot of confidence to go up to the highest stakes possible. Like, what was it that drove you to play all these stakes and to play against even like some of the best players in the world, like Phil Ivey and Isildur and like in the Bobby's game, and you play basically the biggest games in the world.
Well, it's kind of, I guess it's a competitive drive. And kind of, I've always wanted to see if I could do it, if I could succeed and on the biggest stage or in the biggest, against the best. And so I guess that's about challenging myself. And so I have if I were to describe the interplay of my confidence and my competitive drive, it's like, I really, really badly want to be able to do this. I don't know if I can, but I really want to.
Okay. I mean, I would say that that difference of being able to like push Abel through those doubts is really vital to success. At least to do so in a prudent manner, not like trip your bankroll. Now, what's the angriest you've ever gotten?
I mean, I need to think about that. Before I do, I do want to say, like, I think a lot of people assume I'm not very competitive because I'm friendly, right? Or I present as friendly. You know better. But I'm not competitive in that I want to crush other people's souls. I don't want to like, it's not that. I'm competitive with myself. But I'm extremely competitive with myself. And I think a lot of people don't see that. Anyways, the angriest I've ever gotten. I don't know. I am capable of getting angry, but I think what it is probably, all right, compare me. Compare me to the average person. I think you can get a little angrier than the average person, but compare me to the average person.
No, not me. Not me.
You're right. I probably get
I'm kidding.
30. I probably get 30% as angry, but seem 10% as angry. So I think I can get angrier than I seem, but I still don't get as angry as most people.
What are you thinking about when you get really angry?
That's a good question. I need to think of a time that I got really angry. Man, I don't know. These are the hard-hitting questions.
Putting you on the spot. I told you I had you right where I want you. I told you.
You're right. Okay. I think
crushing limbs between your claws, maybe.
Honestly, I think about I don't know how to put. Obviously it depends on the situation, but I live most of my day is spent here in my office. I'm pretty introverted, not antisocial. I like people, but I don't spend a lot of my time socializing, right? And I think, and I like being alone. And so I think that what I think about when I'm angry generally with somebody else is just like, don't want to be dealing with people right now. Yeah. So not crushing limbs, just going back into just locking myself in my room and not dealing with people.
I do something similar. I like just really close up and go on I don't know if it's some kind of defense mechanism or I don't know what it is, but sometimes I just really just don't want to deal with people, period.
Yeah, it's probably a defense mechanism for both of us. If well, I don't want to make assumptions about you, but
you can try.
I can try. No, I think that, like I think probably both of us are, have high aptitude in a lot of areas. A lot of things come naturally to us. But I think that, like the social world is not one of those things. So it's an area where we don't feel as strong or as confident in ourselves. And so it's easy as a defense mechanism when something's going poorly there to just be like, okay, I want to be done with this right now.
Yeah, although, well, that's an interesting subject for myself. I don't know if the audience would find it interesting, although I think the way social dynamics end up playing out is interesting. It's just interesting because there are many like caveats to it. And
I think the audience would find it interesting, but I don't know what you mean by caveats.
Well, let's explore it a little bit. What I mean by caveats is that so there's a lot of people that can connect with people very superficially and connect with they can, let's just say they can connect with a lot of people and they're really natural at it. And then there's people that do not connect with that many people that but they'll end up they'll tend to end up, I don't know if they'll tend to end up having deeper connections, but there's something to be said for like the magnitude of those deeper connections, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which can actually be more valuable than a bunch of superficial ones. And I think that most people, no, not most people, they just tend to be I think over time people tend towards being able to be better at both, but it's like a subtle point that the deeper connections can be more valuable in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
There's a little bit understated where it's like if you think about something like networking or business, your first thought is, oh, I'm gonna like connect with a million people. And actually that's not really true. It's that's what I found, is that you don't really want to connect with a lot of people necessarily. What you want to do is connect with the right people and connect deeply, if that makes sense.
Sure.
At least
Yeah.
that's my experience in business, you could say, and in friendships, and probably in relationships too. I mean, it all like kind of boils down to that. I personally think, I mean, that works for me, but I guess other people work differently. I think it ends up working that way for everyone to a certain extent, but there's plenty of social chameleons out there.
Yeah, I agree that the more serious, the deeper connections are more valuable in a lot of ways. But I do think people can do both. I think, so like it's harder for like I tend to have more of those deeper connections and relationships, and not a ton of superficial ones. That's because I'm not extroverted. But I don't know. I just think of like my friends who are extroverted. I know a lot of people who have a lot of superficial. I wouldn't. Superficial is maybe suggestive of something negative. It has a negative connotation, but they have a lot of acquaintances that they're friendly with, a lot of people they're friendly with, and those are genuine connections in that they like each other. They are friendly with each other. They're positive influence, like they're positive forces in each other's lives, but they're just not as deep. They don't spend as much time together.
Yeah.
But then also have the deeper ones as well.
Sure. I don't think it's necessarily bad to have superficial connections. It's just that, let's put it this way. If you were to give a range for superficial connections to be bad and a range for deeper connections to be bad, necessarily it must be the case. Well, I guess a deeper connection can still be negative. It's like you and your fucking like whoever you're conniving with, then it's like pure evil disguised.
Right.
But
no, I'm with you.
But there's a lot of ways for superficial connections to leak. Let's put it that way, in a way that is not really constructive to much at all. Let's put it like that.
Sure. Yeah.
If you want to have a force, you want it to be strong and dense. You don't want it to be like a blanket.
You don't want it to be a blanket. Yeah.
Teaching this at my run at
I
one
think we can all agree
video.
on that. Yeah.
I'll put that in a quote in one of my videos. All right, I want to know, what's the worst thing you've ever done prior to your grand scheming
Well,
unfolding?
can we address the elephant in the room? What is my grand scheming?
Where do I even begin? I think what you are trying to do is you are trying to subtly, but with unbridled what's the word? Unbridled softness, and not the word for soft, but it's a word similar to soft. Unbridled can't think of a good word, but something like a soft force. Like you're sort of unveiling a soft blanket around the poker world. That's
no, not blankets again. Then it's bad, right?
It's bad. It's fucking. I know it's bad, but it's made of a very firm material, and no one really knows that you're doing this. And it's covering the entire poker world. And when it covers the whole thing, you're gonna just close this blanket, and that's what you're doing. And people don't see it. You have no enemies, and that's weird. You know what they say about people with no enemies?
I don't.
They say they're friend to none.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I have some friends. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I have enemies that neither of us know about.
Yeah, you do. Well,
yeah,
that we do know about.
I'm wrapping a firm blanket around the poker world, and they don't see it coming.
Yeah.
Okay. We're on the same page now.
I knew I'd get you to confess.
Yeah.
Now that I have you right here, locked up, and ready to just be exposed to the whole internet. Finally.
Yeah. They don't see how they don't really know how firm the blanket is. It seems cozy and soft and pillowy to them.
Are you trying to say that you've already got the whole poker world covered?
No, we're early. We're early in my scheme.
Shit. I'm gonna have to get on.
No, it'll take. I mean, come on, an undertaking like that.
No, now you're trying to make it seem like you haven't solved this, but I think I figured it out now. I think I really figured it out. I know what you're doing. I fucking know what you're doing. You can't fool me. Either way, I'm gonna find a way out of this firm blanket. I'm working on a solvent that's gonna poke a hole right through this fucking thing. Just you wait. You have no idea. Anyway, let's go back to the worst thing you've ever done. I want to know what it is.
Worst thing I've ever done. It's gonna take me a while. The problem is if I don't think I honestly can't. I have not thought of it. I make mistakes. I've done things that are bad, but anytime you ask somebody that question, what's going to happen is they're just going to if I had one in my head, it would either be probably not the worst thing or maybe something that I would not want to answer or not want to say. So I feel like if I'll dig back and I'll try, but I don't know if.
What's a bad thing that you've done?
Okay, a bad thing that I've done. Really am struggling to think of examples. I think most of the bad things that I've done, at least lately.
Huh?
What?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think most of the bad things that I've done, at least for the longest while, are biting off more than I can chew and expecting to be able to deliver more than I can. So
that's not bad.
I know, but that's I don't do things that are intentionally bad. I do maybe I'm trying to think back to when I was a kid. But lately it's mainly, neglecting responsibilities because I've taken on too many responsibilities and I can't.
I will say, go ahead.
No, I either can't or decide not to prioritize other things. So okay, so this is a silly one, but just the first thing that pops in my head is so I started making YouTube videos and I did a podcast, and at the end of the podcast I talked about how I want to do more like this, where I talk to people who are at a pivotal point in their poker career, and would like some advice, or not necessarily advice from me, but just want to talk it through and trying to make a decision to go one way or another in their career. And I had a link below the video that said, submit, just click here if you're interested in being on the show, and submit some answers, and then that gets emailed to me, and then I will reach out and connect. And I got, I don't know how many responses now, but got a dozen responses or so pretty quickly. And that was a few months ago, and I haven't gotten back to them because I haven't had time to record another podcast. And
that's fucked up.
Right. It is bad. And so that's the kind of genre of bad things that I do.
That's really fucked up.
Yeah.
But you did the right thing and you confessed. But guess what? I've done that too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've done that too. I haven't responded to everyone on Instagram. Maybe I should. Actually, like I could be convinced to do it. And I've actually made the same damn error. It's really easy to make that error. It's
It
like
is.
the error that people in business make all the time. Actually, you just see it everywhere. It's like the thing. It's super hard to like predict what you're able to do in a short-term window. It's like I remember reading a statistic that it's 1.7 times everything you think will take everything. How do I say this? Everything you want to do takes about 1.7 times as long as you think it will take. And this seems really about the right multiplier for me, because man, it just seems like somehow I don't know what's going on, but it just feels like I have all these plans and it all sounds so pretty, but yeah, it falls. If you plan too much, it falls through, and there's just this like X factor, like nonsense that can happen, and then it just gets you. You never have to underestimate. You can't underestimate the X factor. Very important.
Yeah. There's always going to be things that come up because when it happens, I mean, it happens to everybody in every aspect of business. And I think of it in like software development most because I've been a part of companies that develop software. And the example there is, they plan for the perfect scenario, but then things come up. Either they get stuck on one thing, or, somebody introduces a new element that they need to add to it, or they need to put out a fire because something broke. Just things pop up, and same things happen, in our daily lives where we think, okay, well, I've got 3 months to do this. I can do this in 3 months. That's like this many hours, and I can do it every day. And then, oh wait, there's this trip here. Oh, God forbid somebody in the family gets sick. We have to go do that. Go visit them. Oh, this other, like, oh, this poker game popped up. I have to play that for a week. Like, things just happen, and we're really bad as humans, I think, at building in that buffer, because we're just planning in the kind of idealized scenario of everything going smoothly and no interruptions.
Oh, for sure. It's like a form of I think it's a form of greed, really. I think it's a form of, I mean, it's easy to I mean, on a smaller scale, I know you're always thinking big and grand scales, but I'm going to just go back to smaller scale for a second. Just being on time. Being on time is tough, as you may have discovered recently, for some people. Won't name any names. Myself, so that people don't think that you are the culprit of this one. Yeah, it's tough to be on time for a lot of reasons, all the time, because there's always like some chance that, well, maybe if you have a car, maybe not, but like your Uber's canceled, all this stuff. I don't have a car. I don't need a car. I don't want anyone knowing my license plate, especially not you.
Amen.
All right, let's go the other direction. What's the best thing you've ever done?
Become a father.
That's
made a human,
huh?
Right?
Created
a human, my son.
It's a fair point. As long as he's working for good, I guess.
So far, you never know.
Best wishes to your son and happy holidays. Thanks. All that nice stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can be cordial to my enemies. I don't need to.
Yeah.
I don't need. I believe in being a fierce adversary, the fiercest, but also a gentle. I think that's understandable. Yeah, and it sends a certain message. Let's put it that way.
It does.
Thanks for listening to part 1 of this conversation. Don't miss part 2 tomorrow. Of course, hit subscribe and follow Dan on Instagram at @TheDanCates.